All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my NBA first round playoff predictions. I'll be sharing my predictions for the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference for the first round of the NBA playoffs. So I'll start off with the Eastern Conference first. So you have the number one seeded Boston Celtics taking on the number 8 seeded Miami Heat. I do believe that the Celtics are going to win this series 4-1. I do believe that they are going to gentlemen sweep the Miami Heat in this series. I do believe the Miami Heat at least will win one game in this series, whether that's game 3 or game 4 in South Beach when they play at home. But without Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat do not stand a chance against this loaded Boston Celtics team that went on to win a total of 64 games in the regular season this year. And the Celtics performed well defensively, very, very well in game 1 against the Miami Heat. And they held them to under 100 points throughout the entire game and forced them to turn the ball over 11 times. Played really well defensively in game 1. And with Bam Adebayo being really the only hope for the Miami Heat offensively that you know that you can rely on a nightly basis for a series like this with Jimmy Butler being gone and the rest of the Miami Heat players as talented as they are, I just view them as rotational players and guys that you could depend on for a spark in terms of shooting the basketball, but somebody that you can't expect to take over for a 7-game series playing a talented team like the Boston Celtics. So I do believe that if Jimmy Butler was truly available and healthy, this could be a different outcome because we've seen the Miami Heat take care of business against the Boston Celtics in the 2020s in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the 3 times that they played in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Heat have gotten the best of them. And out of the 3 times in the 2020s, 2-1. So I feel like it would be a completely different series if Jimmy Butler was playing. But unfortunately, he's not. So I do believe that the Celtics will gentlemen sweep the Miami Heat. Then the next matchup, you have the number 2 seeded New York Knicks taking on the 7 seeded Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I do believe that the Knicks will win this series. As I record this segment, they are up 2-0 in the series after winning a thrilling Game 2 in Madison Square Garden last night in the NBA playoffs. However, I do need to see Jalen Brunson more active. I do need to see Jalen Brunson perform better, and I'm holding him accountable because even my co-host Rob Sarasula will agree with me. If the Knicks want to go on a deep playoff run, Jalen Brunson has to play better than what he did in Game 1 and Game 2 in the NBA playoffs because he struggled in Game 1 against the Philadelphia 76ers. In Game 1, he had 22 points, but shot the ball 8 for 26 from the field. That's unacceptable. Then struggled in Game 2. He had 24 points, but shot the ball 8 for 29 from the field. For somebody that is playing the way how Jalen Brunson has played all year long and is becoming that superstar that the New York Knicks have been looking for years, he definitely has to play better in the postseason if he wants to get past the likes of the Milwaukee Bucks or the likes of the Boston Celtics that could be in their way of getting to the NBA Finals this year. He definitely has to play better. But with Joel Embiid not being 100%, he's doing everything he can. But with him not being 100% and the collapse that I seen out of the 76ers last night and the final sequence, the final 45 seconds of the game, how they fumbled the game away, how the New York Knicks took advantage of it, I just don't think this team is good enough to beat them in a 7-game series. And I just trust the Knicks more as a team more than I trust the 76ers, which is another reason why I'm going with the Knicks. Then you have the next matchup. You have the number 3 seeded Milwaukee Bucks taking on the 6 seeded Indiana Pacers. Now, after a strong performance from Game 1 from the Milwaukee Bucks as I record this segment, this series is far from over. And at the time I'm recording this, the Bucks are up 1-0 in the series. Now, Damian Lillard and the Bucks responded well without Giannis being available for Game 1. But do not forget that the Pacers beat this team 4-1 in the regular season, counting the in-season tournament matchups that the Pacers picked up the wins against the Bucks. They know this team very well, and they won the series against them 4-1 in the NBA regular season. But I still like the Bucks winning this matchup. But like I said on the podcast, if Giannis continues to miss time, do not count out this Pacers team because I said the 3 ingredients of the Bucks folding to the Pacers. The coaching of Doc Rivers is always questionable come postseason time. Giannis, whenever he comes back, not being at 100%. And I just feel like those two reasons I said could swing in favor of the Indiana Pacers winning the series. But I do believe that the Boston Celtics are going to win it. But don't be surprised if the Pacers make this series interesting and if they win this 7-game series. Then last matchup in the East, you have the 4th-seeded Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the 5th-seeded Orlando Magic. Now, I do believe that the Cavs are going to win the series as I record this segment. The Cavs are up 2-0 in the series to the Magic. I just trust the Cavaliers overall more. I trust the front court duo of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I trust the backcourt duo of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen more. And I just trust them to make it past the first round this year. I think they're going to learn. I think they're learning from their mistakes that they made in the first round last year when they matched up against the New York Knicks. So I feel like we're seeing growth little by little with this Cleveland Cavaliers team. I just think this Magic team is just too young to compete for a title right now. They're inexperienced in the postseason, but you can see that they're building a core in Orlando. I will give them that. And I do believe that they have a bright future with Paolo Banchero, but I just don't think they have the right pieces to dethrone a Cavs team right now. So I do believe that the Cavs are going to win this series. Now, let's move on to the Western Conference. You have the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the 8th seeded New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I do believe that OKC is going to win this series. If Zion is not in the picture, I don't believe that the Pelicans have a chance to beat OKC in a 7-game series. But as I record this segment, Game 2 hasn't happened for that respective matchup either. What I saw from Game 1 was a very scrappy matchup. Everything you want in an NBA postseason game between the Thunder and the Pelicans, with OKC winning that game 94-92. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander showing why he is an MVP candidate, why he could win the MVP award, and scored 28 points in the victory against New Orleans Pelicans. I just trust the OKC having Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and company to get them past the Pelicans in the first round. Now, this is the series that needs to be talked about. The 2nd-seeded, reigning defending NBA champions, the Denver Nuggets, taking on the 7th-seeded Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I do believe that the Nuggets are on their way to coasting past the Los Angeles Lakers. And right now, they find themselves up 2-0 in the series. The Lakers are 0-10 against the Nuggets in their last 10 previous meetings, counting the Western Conference Finals last year and all the previous regular season games that they played against them, and the 2 postseason games this year. So the Nuggets have the Lakers number. But no matter how well LeBron James and Anthony Davis play against this Nuggets team, they're just better. The better team, better overall team. And I just don't. What I saw in Game 2 yesterday, the Lakers should have put away the Nuggets, and the series should be tied 1-1. But the fact that Darvin Ham does not know what to do in terms of adjusting defensively against the Nuggets offense, it's just mind-blowing, because you can't blow a 20-point lead on the road like this in a game that has major implications to a team that already has your number. You're 0-10 against them in your previous 10 meetings. Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray showing up with that game-winning shot last night, that go-ahead game-winning 3, a shooting game-winning 3. Aaron Gordon and company are just too skillful for this Lakers team. Anthony Davis showed up big time in the first half last night, taking it to Jokic, but in the final 19 minutes of the game, the man was MIA and did not help contribute to the Lakers' offense. And I just feel like this series could be more competitive than it was in the Western Conference, but we all know the Nuggets are just getting good. They're going to get past the Lakers, and I do believe that the Nuggets are going to win this series. Now, next matchup, you have the number 3 seeded Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the 6th seeded Phoenix Suns. Now, I really like the Timberwolves in this matchup. I do feel like they were one of the best teams defensively in the league last year, and they can cause problems to this Phoenix Suns team in this series. Now, the formula of the Suns using Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, now Bradley Beal, 80% of the games is not going to work in the playoffs. And why I say that is, last year, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were driven into the ground playing 40-plus minutes in playoff basketball. Your body doesn't have enough time to recover. You really only run your players like that into the ground in an overtime situation or a game 7 scenario. That was just the formula for them winning last year. And I believe that in this matchup, Anthony Edwards will take the Timberwolves to the next level. And I do believe that he's going to have that coming out party in this series against one of the greatest small forwards of all time in Kevin Durant, going toe-to-toe against an iconic small forward, an all-time great. But the X factor, I do believe that as the series goes on, the X factor is going to be Rudy Gobert. And how Rudy Gobert will play defensively and how much he can contribute for getting rebounds that mean the most, playing defense when it matters most. I do believe that Rudy Gobert is going to be the X factor for the Minnesota Timberwolves as the series goes on. But I like the Timberwolves winning this series. Then the last matchup, you have the 4th-seeded Los Angeles Clippers taking on the 5th-seeded Dallas Mavericks. Now, as I record this, Game 1, the Clippers are up in the series. But James Harden was very effective for the Clippers in Game 1 without Kawhi Leonard being present. He scored 28 points. And I do believe that if the Clippers want to win this series, the X factor is going to be Russell Westbrook as this series goes on, because it's going to go at least 6 to 7 games. And I do believe that Russell Westbrook is going to be the key ingredient for success if the Clippers want to advance to the second round. Paul George and James Harden have a history of shying away in big-time moments and big-time situations in the playoffs when the pressure is on them. And with Kawhi Leonard's health, we don't know. Kawhi Leonard is clear for Game 2, but we don't know how well Kawhi Leonard's health is going to be in this series. And his health could be a question mark. So with James Harden and Paul George being an on and off switch in the playoffs, I do believe that it's going to be important for the Clippers to rely on their veteran point guard, former MVP, and Russell Westbrook to be a spark off the bench, a spark offensively in marquee moments in this series, and a guy that's going to play defense on Kyrie Irving, a scoring machine in his own right. So I do believe that that's going to be the only chances that the Clippers have if Russell Westbrook steps up, if Kawhi can somehow, some way be healthy. But I just like the Dallas Mavericks winning this series. And I do believe that they will. But those are my thoughts on those are my NBA first round predictions for the NBA postseason.